Welcome to the Angels, Magic and Joy podcast. This podcast is for those who seek answers from above, guidance and magical inspiration.
Immerse yourself in the realms of magic, angels, fairies, unicorns, dragons, and so much more. I'm Kirsty Jandrell, and I'm delighted to be here with you today.
And I am Kate Lachman.
Welcome everybody to the Angels, Magic and Joy podcast for another extremely exciting episode. And we have a very special guest today, Alphedia Arara, who's one of the world's top channels of spiritual messages, meditation and guidance from other realms. She's the author of 2 books, Messages from Nature's Guardians and Ascending with Unicorns. Welcome, Alphedia. Thanks so much for joining us today.
No bother. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And we're really excited because we're going to dive into a really expansive topic of star beings with you. So it's such a vast topic. Perhaps you could start by expanding a little on, I know you've got so many magical gifts that you bring into the world, but if you could just give a brief overview, please, that would be wonderful.
Okay, so hello everybody, welcome. I'm Alphedia. So I set my business Elemental Beings up in 2007, and I genuinely just thought I was going to be connecting with elementals and angels. And then before I had my son anyway, we went down to visit my mother-in-law, and she lives just 8 miles from Stonehenge. And because I'm highly clairaudient, which means I hear voices, I hear the beings, I can feel them as well. I got a visitation from the Arcturians, and they said, we are from the star Arcturus, and you are going to be starting to meet many different star beings, and you're going to be a voice for us, and you are going to help teach other people how to connect with us, lead earth healings with us. And for those who don't know, Stonehenge and lots of stone circles are stargate portals, which means that they are a location where communication between us in their human body form and the beings who live in the other dimensions and star systems can communicate with us. And there are portals where they are bringing through codes and frequencies and assisting with the ascension of the planet. So after I'd spoken first to the Arcturians, I then was contacted by the Pleiadians and then the Syrians, and sort of on it went. I then discovered that I'm an incarnate Arcturian. Most of the light workers on the Earth are, well, we're known as galactic royalty on Earth because we all are seeded from different star systems originally. But most of us have returned to Earth at this time to remember our form as a Syrian or as an Arcturian or as a Hathor or of a Pleiadian. And you have particular characteristics depending on what your star type is. So lots of people want to do courses because I'm a channel. I bring through galactic channel forecasts for them. I used to every full moon. So I run for over a decade, I've run full moon workshops. Up to the pandemic, I had to stop it in the pandemic. I used to do personal messages for every single person as part of them. But when it got to 3 figures, I just couldn't do that on top of everything else that I was having to do during the pandemic because staff obviously couldn't come in. So yeah, I've helped hundreds of people connect with different star races. I'm currently working with my agent to produce a Galactic Ascension Oracle deck, which each card will be a different star race. So you'll learn about that race and the different unique properties they have. So it's just a bit like the angels. You connect with Archangel Michael if you want protection or life review going forward. Connect with Archangel Raphael if you want healing. Archangel Chamuel if you want help with relationships and love and the heart. Zadkiel for transformation. The different star races work that way as well. And that's why, and more people are getting visits from them. More and more people are wanting to know about their star origins because more people are actually on the galactic ascension path now. So initially we came through on our, before the harmonic convergence, which was in the 80s, everyone was just on their own soul path, they were just looking out for themselves. Then we had to shift at the harmonic convergence, which I was 7 at the time, so I wasn't doing any spiritual work. But that's when people started preparing for the 2012 shift, and I was doing spiritual work by that point. So I had a whole group of people on Mount Schiehallion, which is a very famous, important geological mountain in the centre of Scotland. And the ley lines from there connect all the way down to the pyramids of Egypt. So I had people who were actually out of the Great Pyramids of Egypt doing that part of the work. And then there was a group of us doing that. And that's when we activated the the dragons, so I work with galactic dragons as well. But it's just really getting people to not be scared of star beings, because let's be honest, the conventional Hollywood TV thing is that they're scary monsters. They're not at all. You have to use discernment when working with them, like we have to do with every spiritual being. You have to check they are who they say they are. But once you familiarize yourself with their different energies, you'll know, oh, this is definitely an Arcturian or this is a Pleiadian, because they all have different traits and they all manifest and they all have their own purpose as well. So they're on their own journeys. So the Arcturians are here to learn about opening the heart up. Arcturians are very focused. They're very good at getting the job done. They're very good at, making sure they're the light technicians. So they're the ones that actually protect us in the galactic star system. It's the Arcturian spaceships that protect the other spaceships. So the Arcturians are very good to connect with, and they actually brought Reiki healing. Most people will probably have heard of Reiki or actually be Reiki practitioners. Because they're the light technicians, they thought humanity to ascend requires this technology, which is now developed into Reiki healing. And of course, Reiki healing is sort of expanded out there. But, 20 years ago, when I started doing the spiritual work, that was how most people opened up spiritually. They went and did their Reiki, or not me personally. I had a different story because I was seriously ill at the time. But yeah, Reiki did play a part, because it was actually my district nurse who started Reikiing me to get me to sleep, because I was very seriously ill and I couldn't sleep. And so yeah, Reiki did play a part. It's just I didn't train in it personally myself then. So that's all come through from the Arcturians. The Syrian star beings helped the Egyptians build the pyramids. Great pyramids in Egypt are the most famous ones, and they're like energy anchors, and there's a reason that they're lined up with the 3 stars of Orion to bring that geometry onto the earth. So yeah, I mean, it is a bit like working with the angels, and that there's so many, you're both angel practitioners, there's so many different angelic beings you can call on and who you would go to if a client came with a particular issue. Well, the star beings work that way as well. And their focus is on helping us raise our vibration, helping us ascend. Their star systems have been through their ascension. They've been on this journey that we're on, and they are creating space. And what I personally do is I work with groups, because very early on in my career, the being said to me, you're not going to do one-to-one work, because the number of people you can help on a one-to-one level compared to the number of people you can work with on a group level is minuscule, really. So I don't actually do any one-to-one work. I do direct channeling, so you could book like a personal channeling, a galactic forecast or a galactic soul channeling to get a direct message from particular star beings, but I don't do one-to-one work. I hold big workshops, so that's the way that I facilitate, and hundreds can do my courses. So I'm doing Lydrans this week. They're another great star being race, the Lydran system, and the Lydrans are often seen as the golden healers, and they're coming through a lot at this time to try and connect with healers, and there's a lot of Lydrans incarnate on Earth at this time. Lydrans are very much associated with the lions, that lion energy, the golden mane, and they are, excuse me, they are really wanting to connect with many of us at this time, to try and help heal the planet and to heal, other people, to help them remember who they are and get them onto their healing path. So it's very exciting to work with star beings.
It's just, honestly, it's so fascinating, and it's, you've been working with them for so long now, and I think, as you say, so many people now are starting to sort of become curious, and curious with an open-hearted curiosity rather than that fear that we talked about. And I think that's just so beautiful that you're able to sort of connect with such a vast array of star beings. I've just got one personal question, if you don't mind me asking, before we move on. I recently was fortunate enough to have a soul origination reading, and I was given the information that originally I'm from Andromeda. My soul is from Andromeda, so naturally that sparks a curiosity, and I've not yet really had the opportunity to sit and really connect and try and sort of allow the messages to come through and that connection to develop. And I feel very much that I'm sort of on the start of this sort of galactic exploration, really, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners are perhaps in a similar situation. So what advice would you give, Alphedia, if you're in that situation, you're curious, or you've got an inclination that you might have some sort of leaning towards a certain race of star beings, what would your advice or tips be, please, for sort of deepening that connection or opening it, really?
Okay, so yeah, the Andromedans. Andromedan is actually another galaxy, so we just lump them into being Andromedan, but that's like lumping in obviously the Arcturians, Sirians, Mars. I mean, you can connect with the planetary beings as well. So I work a lot with the Venus star beings and the Jupiter star beings. The Jupiter beings like coming through a lot. So it's like lumping in all of that. But yes, you are from that other galaxy. Well, I have got pages on them on my website, free information. I've got lots of courses connecting with different star beings. I've also got Finding Your Galactic Self, where there's meditations, guided meditations from them that you can download those courses. They're in the shop on the Elemental Beings website. And it is through sort of meditating with them. I find, and my clients as well, guided meditation easiest, because then someone's taking you on the journey. But with what I do, it's not just like a meditation like you would get in a yoga class or maybe a beginner's angels class where they've got it written out and they're just reading it. My job is to encompass the energy of whatever being is bringing it through. So you're really taking into the portal, actually traveling with your Merkaba, you're journeying in. So basically it's soul journeying work that, I do. But the key thing is to ask. You just have to ask them to connect with you. If you don't ask, they can't do it. And the other thing is you want to raise your vibration. So we create these ascension spheres. They're a set of like 8 crystals. My husband's a Merlin vortex wizard, so Archangel Michael told him how to create these portals in the crystals to bring through the pure consciousness of the being. So I always sit in spheres when I'm working, so I've got 2 of them here. You hold 2 in your hands, 6 are around you, and that'll pull you into energy, and then you can go on a meditation, with them. You also can work with crystals. So you might want to get a star being, crystal skull. This is my large Lyran one. But I've got lots in the shop now that you can connect with. And I do channel. A lot of people who sell star beings can't channel. So they don't say who the beings connect with, but mine will say who they connect with. So if you're looking for an Andromedan, don't think I've got an Andromedan in the shop. They don't tend to come in so much. There might be a couple of Andromedans. But yeah, having a crystal skull is good. You want to bring some tools in to raise your vibration. You want to open up your chakras. So as much chakra clearing as you can do to open up and develop your 6th sense. And you want to really, by the time you're working with star beings and they're coming into your life, you want to be on the 12 chakra system. So you want to be on the 5th dimensional 12 chakra system. If you're only working with the body 7, it would be more difficult. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's more difficult if you haven't ascended into the 12 chakra system. 12 chakra system is not written about in, say, your Hindu practices or your yogic practices, because when these systems were developed thousands of years ago, humanity wasn't able to have these chakras open because the density of the earth was too great, and the density of human collective, the consciousness of the earth wasn't, it would have been dangerous for us to have opened up those higher chakras unless we were in a temple in the Himalayas, in a very safe environment. So you want to be looking to open up your 12 chakras. That's your Earth Star chakra beneath your feet, which pairs with your Soul Star above your head, your causal chakra at the back of your head, and your stellar gateway, and then the sacral chakra splits between sacral and the navel chakras. So most people have heard of the 12 chakra system now, and if you haven't, Google it. There's lots of information available about that now. The key thing as well is to disconnect yourself from the fear matrix. One of my most popular workshops is actually a £15 meditation by Ascended Master Dwal Kul, which is just that, disconnect from the fear grid. Because majority of humans, I've got an Arcturian standing beside me here just now, who's just come in. I don't know, those who are clairvoyant might be able to see him. And he's just said 80% of humans are still living in the fear grid. But that is massive, because like when I first started 20 years ago, it was like 96%. So look how amazing that jump's been in 20 years. With people getting into doing their meditation, into their spiritual practice, connecting with their heart more, and actually seeing through it. So in a strange way, the pandemic, well, they've now actually come out and said that it was a man-made leak out of the laboratory in Wuhan. But the pandemic happened for a reason, and part of that was to help us see through the control grid that we're all living within. Government's not letting us go places, telling us that we have to be vaccinated, what we need to put in our bodies, all that kind of stuff. And it was a test as to whether we were going to get sucked into it, or if we'd stand up and say, no, my body is my temple, what goes into my body is my choice, and I can trust my body and my guides to keep me safe and well, So, and lots of souls chose to use it as a vehicle to leave the planet. because they were taking with them a lot of karma, is what the Arcturian is saying just now. And they were taking with them a lot of their own personal collective traumas through their ancestral lines. And they were going through a cleansing portal by leaving through the gateway that, in a way, the pandemic opened up. So the star beings will challenge your perspective, because they see life very differently from us. They see it on a multidimensional, functional level. I'm not saying they're devoid of emotion, but they're not trapped into the sort of grid of, you know, the whole construct that we have on Earth. So particularly the Arcturians can sometimes feel a bit discompassionate. It's not about that. They just give it to us as it is. They're very direct. People say that I'm a direct channel. You know, when I'm doing, so in workshops, if you come on the call live and you ask for questions, answers, I will give you a direct answer. I'm not bothered about your ego. We've got to get to the stage of moving beyond the ego. You know, the ego is what triggers your fear, your anger, your hurt, your frustration. And that's what we grew through. We grew through having an ego to evolve. But now we've moved into the fifth dimension, and most of my clients are working to create the seventh dimensional Earth. Then we're wanting to master the ego. We want to say, yeah, you're there. Yeah, I can feel you at times, but I choose to not let you rule my life. And the star beings do so much work to help us not live in that egoic place anymore, but to live from the heart, to open our consciousness and to see what is the wider picture in this. You know, so before I came on this call today, I had a really interesting meditation. I sort of awoke and I was sort of in this dream state. And I realized it was like a healing portal. It's the day before a new moon. So I'm in a moon club for Tai Chi. I did my half-hour Tai Chi. And I just became aware of all these emotions that were in my matrix that I didn't want to hold anymore, such as frustration. And some of the stuff from, for those who don't know me, when I was 23, I actually got the flu vaccine. I was frontline government staff. I worked really high up in Scottish politics. And it left me bedridden for a year and a half, unable to move. Now, when I first started telling this story, people were really shocked. But now after the pandemic, people know about the vaccine damage. It's out there in mainstream media. But I couldn't move for a year and a half from the neck down. Doctors put me on palliative care at 24 because they were like, we can't cure you. We don't know what is wrong with you. And I didn't actually come off disability living allowance, which is a benefit you get in the UK, until 2018, because I was still very, you know, physically affected by what had happened to me. And I was able to identify that I actually had frustration in my body still. There was still part of me gets frustrated rather than loving my body, how well it had done to get me well. I still had that unhealed part in me, which was the anger I hadn't released, the frustration about what happened to me, you know. And I've been on this journey this year in particular. Had a, because it was 20 years this year since I started to be able to move again. And that actually, the doctors now know and psychologists that in a strange way, post-traumatic stress, it's actually sometimes triggered not from the moment of the accident or the trauma happened to you, but the part when your body realizes, oh, actually, I'm getting better, I'm going to be okay. And then it is the body still releasing that. So 20 years on, you know, the day I took one step, I mean, it took me years, 4 or 5 years to walk again because my body had completely atrophied, was actually the day that the Queen opened the new Scottish Parliament, which was ironic because I'd worked in the original 5 years in the original Parliament. And then when the new building had been built and the Queen formally opened the new building, that was the day I started to walk again. And it's interesting, it's like I'd walked into my new life. I'm a walking soul. So I actually had, you know, when I was in the coma, I'd left, and Alphedia, who I am now, came in, which is why my first book was published in my old name, because I didn't know at that point. Well, I kind of knew, but my family didn't know I was a walk-in soul at that point. And my mother was dying of cancer, so I didn't want to bring all that into the equation at that point. So I was Fiona Murray originally, and then Alphedia walked in, and of course this is why I could do what I do, because I came in as this high vibration soul with this mission to lead the earth through their ascension and to help others as well. So, okay, I've never advertised. I do social media adverts, but I don't pay. I've never paid for any advertising. And, you know, I've helped thousands of people around the world. They've just found me, whatever way they've been drawn in. So, you know, you just never know where your life is going to take you. And I just encourage people to open themselves up, to allow all these benevolent beings in to help us. But we do have to let go of our control. We have to surrender, and we have to trust and say, yeah, I'm going to follow your guidance. I'm going to embrace this. So, you know, you have to open up the doors to allow this opportunity. You can't cling on to the old way of being. So if anybody's listening and your life's not working out for you at this point, then just hand it over. It's like posting a letter. You just have to put it through the letterbox and trust it's going to get to its destination. That's what you have to do. You can't tell the universe, this is what I want, X, Y, and Z, and hold on to it really tightly. You can say, I want to be happy. I would like to have a partner who's going to support me in life. I'd like to have a child. I'd like to be on my path. And then you just have to allow it to all come in and be guided.
Well, thank you so much, Alphedia, for sharing. I feel so much messages coming through, not only through words, but energetically. I feel so much, and it's interesting. Anything you start talking about, I just wanted to ask, and I wanted to ask and maybe expand a bit more about this, aspect of fear. And you've mentioned control as well, and walking on our, ascension path. And I can relate to that myself, so much fear blocking. And then kind of maybe if you could share some, advice, because I know lots of people, they wish, but still there is some fear holding back, and they're aware of that, but still it's holding them back. Would you have any advice, like how to face it, how to navigate through it, how to step out of it to be able to open up? And again, coming back to the star beings, and Kirsty, you've mentioned Andromeda very often, and I personally have that experience, since being a child. I always felt like, why am I here? I don't belong here, and I miss home. I will always look at the stars and I miss home. And the big shift was when I connected with Andromeda and with the unicorns, and my even voice is breaking because it was so emotional. And then since then I found that home in my heart. So maybe if you could expand more on how it affects us on our ascension path, our lives, daily lives, connecting and, navigating through fear and that as well.
Okay. Yes. So I would say that once you connect with the energy that feels familiar, so think your soul is piloted onto this earth. Now, I'm definitely a cuckoo in my family. A cuckoo is a bird that drops its eggs in another bird's nest and then is brought up by the other parents. Well, I definitely felt that growing up. I was a bit of a cuckoo. And then definitely when I was getting better, I was just like, this cannot be my life. I cannot have got better to sit and listen to my mother and auntie talking about these people they were at school with or whatever they were talking. It just was mundane chat. And I was thinking, there's got to be more to life. And that is when I started working with the angels, and I started saying, help me, I want to have this experience, and started telling them what I wanted. So I wrote a letter to the angels, actually. And at that point, didn't know about star beings. I wrote a letter to the angels and I listed all the qualities I was looking in for a man. And they brought my husband in, who's 25 years older than me. Nobody could cure my eyes. The NHS doctors, head doctors in Scotland said, we're 25 years away from curing your eyes, if that. I met my husband, my neurophysiologist, who's a holistic physiologist, found out about him. He'd been the head homeopathic doctor in England. He'd moved up to Scotland. He'd actually retired from human practice and was just working with animals. But he agreed to come and treat me. And I just knew. I knew it was him. I knew he was the man I'd been looking for all this time. But we had massive obstacles. My mum didn't speak to me for 2 years because I chose to be with him. He had 4 children. And I've talked about that in lots of things before. But the key is to ask. But home when it comes to you. So once you realize that you are both Andromedans, it's probably why you work together. And the galactic unicorns, I have a galactic unicorn course, I have a galactic dragon courses. Once you find, so it might not just be the star beings you're attracted to, it could be the galactic fairies or the dragons or the unicorns. There's many of the different beings carrying the galactic codes, but it does feel like home coming into your heart. You remember, you connect with the resonance. With regards to feeling the fear, one of the most simple techniques, and it is not associated with the star beings per se, but it's to work with the violet flame of purification. Most of you will have heard of the violet flame. In angelic terms, it's associated with Archangel Zadkiel. In ascended master terms, it's associated with ascended master Saint Germain. One of my roles has been to bring through the silver violet flame onto earth and the golden violet flame, which are the higher levels. So if you're already working with the violet flame and you feel it's not strong enough, then ask to connect with the silver violet flame because your vibration is increased. And again, you can go up to the golden violet flames. Again, I have workshops on them on my website. But the violet flame, just imagine a purple flame and just ask to sit in it. Just say, can I sit in the violet flame and meditate? And just feel this violet flame burning away whatever the fear is. So, I also do theta healing where you're taught to dig. So you're looking at, right, so let's use you as an example. What are you fearful of at this moment? And I will show you how to shift it. If you can identify the belief pattern, I have a fear of, then, you can release it.
I can bring one.
Yeah.
So let's say the fear of being abused from the outside.
Okay. So you've got fear of abuse. So you've probably in a past life suffered from abuse or earlier in your life suffered from abuse. Okay. So that's like a trauma. There's trauma in there that's stored in your emotional body. So sit in this trauma. Feel fear of outside abuse. Abuse coming from outside. So just feel that. If it helps you identify where it is in your body, you might want to say, oh, it's in my heart, it's in my shoulder, whatever. But as long as you can feel it, I'm just going to ask you a simple question. Are you ready to let this fear go? Yes or no? Yes.
Yes.
When are you going to let this fear go?
Now.
Well done. I'm going to let this fear go now in all realms and dimensions, in all time and space. And then just breathe into that space that fear was holding in your body. You can ask the angels to come in, or you can just imagine a color that you like coming in to fill up that space. So that is the first level, like, of doing it, just choosing to let it go. There'll be, you know, if you dig under it, it's like, well, why do you have this fear? But you actually were able to let it go, you were ready, but you might have gone into the no, and that would be called going into the resistance. If it was like, no, I can't let this go. Then you just ask people to sit in the resistance. It's technique, it's a bit like Sedona method. So there's a book this man developed it as you can read the book on Sedona method, which goes into a lot more in depth about it. I haven't personally read it because I just got this channel, but I know that that's out there if you're someone who likes to read books and know everything about it. But you can also, with fears, just say, I uncreate, delete, destroy this belief now in all realms and dimensions, in all time and space. So daily doing these affirmations where you're telling the universe, no, I'm uncreating, deleting, transmuting, transforming this belief out of my matrix. It just goes, because everything that's held in your matrix is only held there by permission. So you had actually given yourself permission to hold these beliefs to start being set. You know, you don't have to take them on. So one of the things is they say that we're most imprinted between the ages 0, we're in the womb, to 0 and 3. So I'm actually a forest school teacher as well, and forest school is primarily used for nursery and preschool. And that's when we most take on our imprinting from our family. But you can have two children completely different, because one soul's like, I'm not willing to take on these imprints. And then the other child's the good kid, so they want to always please their parents because they've got their programming, and they take on all their things. They think, well, that's what I've got to do. But actually, it's the kid that's kicking off and saying, no, this isn't right for me, that's actually on that path, because they're like, no, I've got my free will. They're remembering they've got their free will. They're remembering that they have a choice as to whether to take on these beliefs that the world is a fearful place. So that's why doing the meditations, because once you start dismantling the fear grid from you, you know, you will start to feel your life changing. So because you're basically holding this beacon going, outside world, it's fearful, it's fearful, it's fearful, the universe goes, oh, they want more of that. Yeah, here's confirmation. Here's confirmation that the world's a fearful place, because that's how the universe works. It's the law of attraction. But if you're like, oh, no one can hurt me, I'm totally safe, then you will have a life where you can't be hurt and you're totally safe. Because we can only be hurt if we actually allow ourselves to be hurt. And that is one of the massive consciousness shifts. If I was to say to somebody, one consciousness teaching is that can change your life. You choose to react to a situation through fear. You choose to react to that situation with anger. You choose to react to that situation with hurt. No one can actually hurt you emotionally or mentally. You choose to react that way. Yeah, they can physically hurt you, taken out you or whatever, but that happens in a moment. And if you're not holding those vibrations to be hurt, you'll have got yourself out of the situation before it gets to the place where you would be hurt. Your sixth sense is telling you, screaming at you, don't trust this person, don't be here, don't listen to this. But most of the time we're not connecting, we're not listening to our signs, we're not listening to our guides, we're not listening to our body feedback. So we end up in situations which are dangerous for us. That's not to say that accidents don't happen. Accidents do happen, you know. But again, if you're very accident prone, that's something to look at. You know, there's programming in you that's making you be in the situation where accidents happen more often. I'll give you an example. It's not a dangerous one or a scary one at all. I have this beautiful silk rug. It is an 800-pound rug. And this was meant to be a rug that was in my meditation space. But you're going through a house build. We have been going through what's meant to be my recording studio and home office build in the garden for 10 months. All of this builder has done so far is removed a hedge, put pillars up, brick pillars up, which were not structurally sound, so they've all got to come out. And yeah, it's been a bit of a disaster. So currently my beautiful silk rug is in the living room. Lots of people are walking on it, obviously, because it's the daily living space. And I had this rule not to have liquid on it because you can't actually clean it. Anyway, I yesterday was really not grounded. I'd had a massive spiritual healing from somebody. They were just practicing, so they didn't ground me properly. And I was so blasted, I never thought I was out of it, so I didn't realise I hadn't been grounded properly. So I come through with a really yummy, thick berry smoothie my husband has made, and I sit down on the sofa because I thought, well, it's lunchtime now, I'm just going to sit down. And I went and put my thick, pink, purple berry smoothie onto the table. Because I wasn't grounded, I missed the table, and it's all over, all over my rug. It's just all drying out in another room. And I was like, okay, well, this has now happened. I'm always on everybody else not to have my yellow turmeric water or things on this rug. And what was it teaching me? I was told a week ago, just roll that rug up, put it somewhere else and get, and I didn't do it. I didn't follow the guidance. Okay. So it was a lesson for me just so you're not always listening. So graphically, this is what happens when you don't listen. Now, we all have periods where we don't listen, but because, you know, my role is to be a channel, my role is to be at that top level to help everybody else get up. If I'm not listening, they're going to throw it at me quite quickly. And luckily it was just well, it's not even ruined, it's probably rescuable. But, you know, it's just things like that. And these little things are probably playing out in your life all the time. But this is where the star beings are great to call in because they basically cut through the crap. They'll right away tell you this person isn't good for you, you're not meant to be doing this or that, or why don't you try this? Why don't you take this risk? Because that's the other thing they're always saying to me is humans are so risk adverse, you know? And so why is that? Why are we so risk adverse? It's because of fear. We wouldn't be risk adverse if we hadn't been programmed to fear something going wrong. And then they arise, and then their dimensions, they don't, that's duality, that's third dimensional consciousness, rightness, wrongness. In their consciousness and where we're getting to, things just are what they are. It's just energy. And there's no right or wrong energy. It's just an energy. Even my son is a brilliant maths. He's 12, but he's already been started on 4th year maths. He's already getting taught by the high school, and he's going to go straight into the advanced. Like he's going to miss 2 years of high school maths and everything. And he is obviously he's a very psychic child, and he is a great healer. But he's a kid, so he's a boy at the moment. But he's very much into loves maths because it's like the right or wrong answer. And when I say to him, well, actually, it's not at this level, it is. But when you get to university, then you start to find out everything they taught you in school is an illusion. It's just, you go, there's actually science is just a paradigm. It's just someone's belief that that's the right answer and that's the wrong answer. You know, it's just that construct that we are within. It's still a philosophy at the end of the day, you know. So, and that's how the star beings see things. Does that answer your question?
That's amazing. And so I think so much in there. I think, yeah, thank you. And you know, you're talking about, you know, sovereignty there, and you know, being able to choose your thoughts, and which of course, you know, ultimately affect your vibration and then what happens in the physical. And to have that sort of that detached sort of view, that multi-dimensional view of the reality that you're creating, which the, you know, the star beings have, the angelics have, and we, as you say, are being brought up into that, and are allowing ourselves to you know, raise our vibration so that we have that wider perspective, and that sort of rising above the fear. I think, as you say, you know, there's so many, the fear matrix is still very much a force, but it's loosening, it's dwindling, and people are starting to see through it. How do you see the next sort of, and this is, I apologize in advance, but I'm just so curious to ask you this question. How do you see the next sort of even decade, Alphedia, on the ascension path sort of unfolding? Because I think it feels to a lot of us who are awake at the moment that things are happening at such a pace. It's just so curious to see what the next decade will hold. Are we, you know, will we be at a place where we're in a complete unity consciousness, and peace and harmony and joy are the you know, the predominant frequencies? Or do you think we've a way to go yet? Does that make sense at all? I'm trying to sort of gauge what you think, really, because you're so, you know, clued in.
So I think the best thing would be if I did a live channeling, because an Arcturian's here, and you're as well asking Arcturian what they see the next 10 years. Forward this Arcturian who's here, and you're just wanting what's forecast for the next 10 years. Greetings. My name is Ontaran, I am an emissary from Arcturus, assisting with the Earth evolution ascension. This conversation has been interesting to witness from an Arcturian perspective. As the consciousness of the planet rises daily, many are starting to awaken and seek their true soul purposes and to reconnect with their soul galactic brethren. The next decade of evolution will see more cataclysmic events happen on Earth as the old system dismantle. This means that, yes, there will be those living still in third dimensional consciousness who are not willing to step to the light, who are gripping on to their control, who are ramping up their attempts to block this Earth ascension evolution process. But it will be unsuccessful. The light has already won out. But for you as individuals in the mass collective, it is important to continue to play your role in this journey, which is to not get embroiled in the drama of the karmic third dimensional realm. But it is instead to continue to shine your healing lights, to awaken and to step into this new dawn. For it is a choice, dear one. It is a choice to step onto the ascension path, to step out of the fear grids, to step out of the toxicity, and to bring through your unique talents and gifts and offerings. You each have skills, you each have talents that are required on Earth at this time, whether this is to birth the new children, so that they can come in with their elevated consciousness and their understandings for new technologies, for cleaner living on Earth. Whether it is to be a seer or a healer or to be a wayshower, whether it is to assist the animals, the plants, the tree kingdoms in their journeys, whether it is to create new portals and temples of light in physical form, to bring through the Star Race collective template to assist you with this evolution. Be under no illusion that the darker forces will not ramp up their ante. But the key is not to be in the fear of it. The key is to trust in the benevolent beings of the light and to trust in your own abilities as psychic beings. You all have psychic abilities. Every single human does. The sixth sense is real, but it's a choice to develop it. It is a choice to use it. And the more that you work on your sixth sense, the more that you upgrade it, the more that you strengthen it, the easier your life becomes. But there will also be personal challenges going forward. Many contracts are coming to an end in the next 4 years. This means that relationships will change. This means that jobs will change. This means there will be great change in your life going forth if you're not already on your path. If you're already living a romantic relationship of sacred union, if you're already working in a career that is supportive of your soul growth, purpose, and evolution, if you're already being truthful and honest in your family relationships, then this will not affect you. But for those of you that know you are not living a life of authenticity, then it is your choice to continue to live this life of inauthenticity, which will bring with it challenges and hardships, or to actually step forward, put yourself first, and follow your heart path and guidance. So the next decade is not of doom and gloom. It is about excitement, and it is about evolution, spiritual refinement, which brings great joy, blessings, and gratitude to you. First, you have to make the choice to ascend. So I ask you now, go into your heart. Are you in this moment now willing to make the choice to ascend? Arara. Just taking a deep breath, allowing all the codes to integrate into you from this Arcturian. Allowing yourself to feel the words, to feel the frequencies. And you can listen to the channeling again, because you may have been triggered by some of the things that were said, your ego might have been poked, and that means that you couldn't embrace all of the channeling. But the more that you listen, the more it will break through that, and the more you will evolve. So we'll ask our hosts, are you making the choice to ascend?
Absolutely, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Deep, deep gratitude. Beautiful. Wow. Ah, so special. Kate?
Now, how do we continue after this?
I know.
I don't feel like anything to be added, or it's just, yeah.
So this is what I always do in workshops. We start off with an invocation to call them in. This is the format for the new moons and the full moons. Then we do a clearing meditation to open up our chakras, our sixth sense, any other realizations they want us to have, and guidance. Then I do the live channeling, which is like that, teaches us. Then we will work the full moons. We do self-realization. So we look at what's going on in our life, what was triggered maybe from like a channeling like that. What's really in there we've been wanting to avoid, and then we'll have an attunement in the ascension spheres that I talked about, the crystals, to raise your vibration. And then we go in the big half-hour multi-dimensional meditation, taking you through all the portals, giving you all the healings or whatever it is you're seeking for you in your life at this time. So everybody's welcome. You don't have to be really advanced, or you don't have to worry if you are a beginner. If you want to tell me in advance so that I know to cover some of maybe the topics that you're like, oh, I don't know what terminology meant. My husband mans the chat box behind the computer, so he reads out what people are saying. So you get help and guidance if you can make the live call. Of course, it's all recorded because a lot of my clients are in Australia or New Zealand, so they're often asleep, or even America. So I try to do things at different time zones. So solstice is coming up, it's a Dragon Keys one, and we're going to the Syrian Stargate portal on the Isle of Arran. So retreats are always good because I do early morning ones, which people who are normally awake, so I'll be there 4 o'clock in the morning on solstice day. So that's for America and West Coast America and Australia good, and then maybe late in the evening. But generally we try to do it so that everybody has a chance. And if people are asleep, they email things to me. So if anybody's listening to this, feel free to drop me an email, info@elementalbeings.co.uk, or find me through the Elemental Beings Facebook page or Alphedia Arara Kensington on Facebook. And I use messengers. So if you're listening to this transmission or that channeling brought some things up for you, feel free to get in touch. I'm very accessible. I know some self-haters always aren't, but I am pretty accessible through social media, Instagram as well. I use. So yeah, and I know that if you've never experienced channeling before, it can be quite an emotional experience, and that it can bring up emotions, and it can bring up, oh my goodness, oh, I've got to make this choice now. I'm not saying you have to make the choice now, but what I teach people is we have this opportunity now. We're in the fast track. Why would you want to waste it in this lifetime? We have all these tools. You've found the people to help you. You've woken up. You don't want to end up another incarnation where you've got to go through the birth cycle and you've got to find yourself again. But you can do so much work in this lifetime. Because we've got it all at the moment. So why wouldn't you want to utilize that and do all the clearings, call in the star beings? I mean, the Antarians, they're really good star beings for mother issues. If you've got mother problems going on, or just if you want more of that nurturing mother energy in your life, call in the Antarians. If you want sort of practical solutions to things, the Syrians are great. And the Syrians work a lot on opening up our glands, the sort of pineal, third eye, hypothalamus. I've got lots of transmissions from them that are just our transmissions. So they're easy to fit into your daily life. The Pleiadians, they're the heart-based beings. They're the nurturers as well. They're really good for helping you to feel more into your heart. The Hathors, Tom Kenyon channeled them. He's an old man now, but his book, The Hathors, is a great book. And they're the sound healers, so they'll bring through. I personally am a sound healer as well. So in my meditations, you're getting all the Tibetan singing bowls, the crystal singing bowls. You're going on sound journeys as well as journeying off to Arcturus or wherever. But the Hathors are great for healing with sound. Let's talk about the Lyrans. We talked about them, didn't we? The Orions. Some of you might be incarnate Orions. And often the Orion incarnates, you've been having a war on your planet for a while, and so often Orions feel a bit heartbroken. They feel a bit like they need to be nurtured when they come, and they also feel a bit like nobody likes us. But I love working with Orions. I've got a great workshop which is about connecting with Orion masters, and they really bring forward a lot of wisdom and knowledge. The Andromedans are because they're that bit further away. Andromedans are often the ones that feel a bit lost when they come onto Earth. And they can often feel a bit like what you said at the start, oh, I want to go home to the stars, because it's so different for you. You're in a new galaxy. But the whole reason that you've come in is to be light showers, to be leading the way, to be bringing in new technologies, to be helping lead others into new ways of consciousness. So they're often incarnate Andromedans are often consciousness awakeners, helping people to find a new path out of their maybe unhappy existence in human form. I'm trying to think who else. Well, Venus star beings are great. They're all about love, ecstasy, bliss. They're great to work with for sexual energies as well. Mars beings, they are really good for direction and focus and getting jobs done. Mercury, planet of communications, we've got communication blocks, calling them in. Saturn beings, they're all about how to structure something. So you want to create a new project, but you don't know how to do it, and you can't figure out, there's all these parameters. You've got to follow the government laws, because we do have to follow financial laws. Otherwise we'd end up in prison. So we need to follow that structure. And we have to also figure out, how am I going to structure this into my daily life? And maybe you've been at home working, being a mother, that is work, but you want to get back into the workplace. And you're like, well, I've got these spiritual gifts, I want to offer them out, but I don't know how to structure it. How do I structure it around my children? How do I structure it? I've still got enough energy for my partner, my marriage, my relationship. How do I structure it so I've still got enough energy to exercise, do my yoga, whatever you want to do? Call the Saturn beings, in for that as well. And then when you're ready to work on your wounding, Chiron, we know this from our astrology, the Chiron beings will help us. And then, of course, Pluto, when you're ready to go really, really deep, when you're ready to maybe spend a few weeks in the deep depths of the mire, it's the Scorpio planet, because every sun sign connects with the planet, in case people sort of don't know about that. So Pluto connects with the Scorpio. I'm a Capricorn, but as a walk-in, I'm on the cusp of Leo and Virgo. So, it's my 20-year walk-in birthday this year in August. So that's exciting. I think I might do something to celebrate it. We'll have a galactic party. But yeah, have about, play with them. They're great to connect with. You'll find the energies that's most appropriate for you. And just because you're an incarnate Arcturian or an incarnate Andromedan doesn't mean you can't work with all the other beings. They are they're all willing to work with us. And it's likely, I've spent a lot of time on Sirius. So Arcturus and Sirius and Venus are actually my main sort of mesh up of energies. But yeah, you'll have your own galactic history, and it's great fun exploring it. I just love working with all the different ones, because it's like a whole new world has opened up. So if you've only been in the world of angels and you love all the different angels, then welcome to the world of star beings. This is like a whole new other journey and of course they all work together. So it's great fun.
Could I ask one little cheeky question at the end? Because I'm really curious. It might be an obvious thing, but I'm not sure. Would different crystals connect you with different star beings? If you, let's say, you would like to, to have a physical anchor, would you recommend, if someone would like to, connect more with Pleiadians or any of them, is there any particular crystals that they would connect with?
Well, there is no, they don't align themselves with the crystals. But obviously, if you want to connect with Venus beings, you want to be working with like your rose quartz, your pink crystals, the crystals of the heart. Syrians, I've got a Syrian skull here. This is a good example. Actually, I think this is one that's in the shop. This is for home. So this is tiger's eye, and tiger's eye connects really well with the energy of the Syrians. Pleiadians, blue crystals, I find works really well with the Pleiadian energies. And the Arcturians are really, clear quartz is great for Arcturians, because Arcturia is that clean, concise, clear energy for Arcturus. But then I have got, I've got a red jasper Arcturian skull, crystal skull, for example. This Lyrans usually associates itself with yellow, but this is green aventurine, and this is a Lyran skull. So they'll just choose for their purpose. But if you want to help facilitate it easier for you, then that's just some of the ones I'd maybe recommend. But probably if you're going to go for a crystal, it's probably easier to go with the star being to be your crystal to meditate, because it's got that aspect of the crystal skull conclave, already has the codes and the frequencies in there. So if you're wanting to meditate, then particularly bring in the star being energy, then and they don't have to cost a lot. I mean, I've got a beautiful one. It's on the altar there. I should have brought it around, but it's similar. It's bigger than this one, but it's similar carving, and it's rose quartz, and she's a Venus star being. So she's up in the shop, and yeah, she's going to set you back 4 figures if you're in the UK and you have to pay VAT, or 800 if you're out with. But I've got ones that are starting at 50, like 40. They don't have to cost, You don't have to go for a big one to start. You just get a small one and love that one, and the rest will come to you when you're ready for them.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for showing some of those examples as well. That beautiful adventuring one's gorgeous. Oh, that's so lovely. Well, oh gosh, I feel we could have a week's worth of meetings with Alphedia and still not have scratched the surface of as you say, it's such a vast exciting topic. So thank you for bringing so much in such a condensed time, and thank you so much for that live channel as well. That was just such a gift.
Oh, no problem. It's been lovely to meet you, ladies.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for
Thank
what
you.
you're doing as well. Thank you for holding this beautiful podcast, and the joy you were talking about. Joy, and I feel so joyful when I connect to our beings all the time. They do always, they bring a lot of joy into my life, and since I've been working with them, they brought a lot of excitement in, because I think sometimes Earth's energy is heavy. We are going through it, and as Arcturian was talking about, how we're in this final throes of the old paradigm, which is the old way of being. And look at it, we've got a war in Europe again. We have got abuse happening to women around the world, suppression for people of the LGBTQ plus. I think that's all the phrases, isn't it? Community around the world still. So although we're here in the West, or especially in the UK and Ireland, we have a lot more liberties. But there's lots of countries in the world that still don't have that, and we take it for granted as women that we get to vote next month in an election, that we get to go to the shops without wearing a cloth over our head, and that we get to be educated. There's so many women around the world who don't have that option and that opportunity. And it is through connecting with these races who are they're off the earth, so their frequency, their density returns us home to realize, actually, life's, it's not great in some parts of it, but we can get there. We can get to that place where people aren't going to suffer anymore. And it is by bringing through these codes, it is by funneling into the consciousness. And as we seed stuff into our consciousness, we seed into at least another 100 people. And it's that whole 100 monkeys effect. And then they seed into another 100 people. And then that's how the light spreads, around the world. And a lot of people who work with me in earth healing, they are seeders of consciousness. So their job is just to bring through the codes. That's why they come to the courses, and then they'll sit and meditate and just funnel that into human consciousness and to seed that in to all of humanity, because we are all one. So just as there's darkness within humanity, us in the light realms, the star beings say, have this responsibility, and it is a responsibility to seed the light into human consciousness. So, yes, of course, we're here to look after ourselves, but we are here to be of service. And you don't know these people, but they still are important. They're someone else's child, And so a lot of the earth healing work that we do through the retreats, or I do these earth healing SOSs, it's free to sign up to. So I might get an emergency message, we need to stabilize the grids at the pyramids. Someone's thinking of bombing it, and I'll just text a whole pile of people, hundreds of people around the world, email them, say, right, we're doing a focus healing on this, because that's us giving back. We've got the skill set. Our guides have got us into a position where we know how to use the light energy. We know how to use our healing power, and we can use it to help people that we'll never meet in this incarnation, because we are all one. So they are us. So that's important for everybody to remember as well in the grand scheme of things.
What a beautiful message to end with. Thank you so much. That message of, that confirmation that, we are all the change, and we've incarnated to make that positive change and to help each other rise and co-create. So, thank you so much, Alphedia. It's been absolute joy and so enlightening and interesting. And I'm sure our listeners are just so excited to connect with you. And I just wanted to add, I've personally been fortunate enough to be on a couple of your workshops, and they are amazing, so transformative, and just beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And we'll see you again soon, everybody. Take care. Have a beautiful day. Thank you. Bye.